I want to know how many of you have changed your thoughts and opinions of Viktor Gyokeres now that you've actually watched him play a full 90 minutes of football actually against your own team. Going into this game, look, the past however many weeks, all I've heard is we need to be signing Viktor Gyokeres, we need a new number 9, we need a striker, we need this, we need that. And we all really failed to completely consider all the context of the situation that we were going through in regards to missing Odegaard and the lack of creativity in the team. And I say all because I made a video a couple of weeks ago saying that we need to go and sign Viktor Gyokeres. I made a full video about the fact that we need to just go and get him. And look, I haven't changed my mind. I still think that he would come in and definitely make this Arsenal team a lot better. And I think we can't run the narrative and the agenda that we have the best centre-back pairing in the world, that we have the best defence in Europe. And then when a striker comes up and struggles against them, then we say that he's no longer good enough. I think we all saw as soon as Gabriel came off and it is Kivior at the back, Viktor Gyokeres ran through on goal and he had a very good chance. But I think what it does highlight is the lack of football that people actually watch when they go and call for wanting these players and they go and talk about the way certain teams play it when they don't actually watch them play. I think a classic example is last season when everyone was saying that Phil Foden was the best player in the Premier League, when in actual fact no one was watching Man City games because, well, Man City are a boring team. No one just goes and chooses to watch them play football. But what they'd see is the hat-tricks against Aston Villa's B team. They'd see the amazing goal at the Bernabeu, and they'd ride this wave that was going through Twitter and social media that Phil Foden's having an amazing season, which he did have an amazing season. But you see, this season, where's he been? You seen him in the Euros? Where was he? You see Rodri come out of that City team, and look where City are right now. But going back to Gyökeres, because look, my stance is if you can get him for whatever his release clause is, I think I've seen it's around 55 million. You absolutely go and spend that money in January to get him in and make us as strong as possible to try and win this Premier League. But the real straight line narrative to this game, Arsenal versus Sporting Lisbon in the Champions League, away from home for Arsenal, was, all the talk was about Gyökeres. Arsenal need a striker. Gyökeres, how well is he going to do? Is he going to punish the centre-back pairing? Arsenal won 5-1 and Kai Havertz was in on the act, scoring a goal himself. Now, am I saying that Havertz is better than Gyökeres? No, numbers speak for themselves. But you see the way Arsenal played and it's in plain sight that Martin Odegaard is a massive, massive asset to this team, especially in the final third. He makes everything tick. Everything we do on the ball and off the ball is run by him. Off the ball, it's him leading the press. It's him. Even when he's pressing, he's getting the rest of the players and the rest of his team to follow him, and he's positioning them where to be constantly. On the ball, it's him that's making things tick. It's him that's making the movements and the setting up certain patterns and freeing up space for Saka as well. Of course, when you've got Odegaard there, an opposition have to, they can't go all on Saka and put 3 and 2 men on him all the time because they're freeing up a lot of space for Odegaard to do what he does best. And I think we've seen it even from his first return against Chelsea. Now, look, at the time, we weren't happy because the context of where we were in the season, going to Stamford Bridge and getting a draw in the grand scheme of things and with the amount of chances we created is actually a very good result, especially with the way Chelsea are playing this season, being in the top 4, being a very good team, and the amount of money they spent on the players that they have, they are a very good team. But after the losses that we had faced before that and needing to get 3 points, it was very gutting at the time. But if you look in isolation in regards to creation of chances in the final third and the way we're fluid and the way we're, making things tick, it was Odegaard. It was pretty obvious that he makes this team a much, much better team in an attacking sense. And then we seen the game against Forest. It was very measured, but we definitely looked more fluid in the final third. We definitely looked a much better team than what we have been this season without Odegaard. And then there's this game in the Champions League away from home, and that was arguably our best away Champions League performance since the Bernabeu or Inter Milan when we smoked them. And it was really how we should have been playing through the entirety of the season, and really it just goes to highlight how good Martin Odegaard is, because with him there, look at the way we play. The whole game really, even after half-time, when Sporting scored that goal and it went to 3-1, the way we were very mature and the way we handled the occasion, this team is now very experienced. Now, look, we're not experienced in winning trophies and silverware. There's a big difference there. But we're very experienced when it comes to handling these big occasions, handling certain circumstances in a football match now. And it's not this young team that we're used to a few years ago when Arteta first came in, this young team with lack of experience, which would crumble in big occasions. You know, there's fireworks going off. The crowd was up for it after they scored that goal and they had that boost. But we managed it and we went and scored another two. And the substitutions Arteta made as well were absolutely spot on. And we're talking about a sporting team that are unbeaten this season in all competitions. They've not lost at home in over a year. They smoked Man City 4-1 a few weeks ago. And the way we beat them, it weren't just we smashed them 5-1. It is the way we're just playing with them, especially in that first half. Some of the patterns, some of the movements, some of the combinations throughout the whole width of the pitch from back to front. Sporting was second in the Champions League before we played them. Now, look, it is important that we continue this on now because it's what Forest and now Sporting Lisbon is 2 games. We need to continue the momentum, especially in the Premier League, because if we want to catch up with Liverpool, we need to win a load of games on the bounce. But like I've said on my TikTok and on Twitter as well, you can go follow me on them. Go look in the description and my accounts will be there. We've already played the majority of our most difficult games in the Premier League this season. We've gone away to St James's Park against Newcastle. We've gone away to Villa Park against Aston Villa. We've gone away to Tottenham without our starting midfield. We've gone away at the Etihad against Man City. And we went down to 10 men and we managed to get a draw out of it. And the way we played before we went down to 10 men, you know, that was a significant eye-opener at the time to how good this Arsenal team is. We've already played Liverpool at home. We've already gone away to Stamford Bridge. All of these inside the first 12 games. And now we've got Odegaard back. We're picking up a bit of fluidity. We're looking like the team that we were last season again. After only 2 games, which, look, we don't want to go over the top because Arsenal fans, we do like to go over the top. But I think we can take enough trust from this Arsenal team, from what we've seen in the previous season, to know that this is how we play. This is actually us. This is our identity. And the whole agenda that the media and rival fans were running in the past few weeks that this Arsenal team is boring and that we don't score enough goals and we're not fluid and we're too defensive. It's as laughable now as it was back then. Because it's pretty obvious this Arsenal team does not lack fluidity when we're at it. We don't lack creativity and entertainment when we're at it. But surprise, surprise, you have your main creative asset in midfield. When he returns, you actually go back to how you're meant to be playing. And some people may argue, oh, is it a bad thing, though, that you're so reliant on one player? But I just think when there's a player that's so key, that's so good at what he does, it doesn't matter. You're not going to go out and get someone that's going to come in and replicate what he does. We see that at Man City with Rodri. Man City have had loads of injuries in the past few years. De Bruyne goes out, but they still keep the same level. Why? Because Rodri, what he brings is so unique to that City team, to the system, that is irreplaceable anyway. It's the same with what Odegaard brings Arsenal. Like I said, in possession, out of possession, he's vital. But I want to end on one last thing because I think there are some really impressive moments in the game from one individual that won't get spoken about because we scored 5 goals and all the focus was on our attack and our centre-back pairing locking up Gyökeres. But there were a lot of moments where David Raya pulled out some very good saves. And I was watching it at the pub with some of my mates who don't really watch much Arsenal. And they're asking me about Raya, saying, wow, he's actually very good. Would you say he's one of the best in the league? Because some of the saves he was making were insane. But even his distribution as well. And I think overall this season anyway, he's been top. And look, last season, it took him a bit of time to adjust. He came in with all the noise around Ramsdale and everything as well. But now he looks settled. And I think when you go through a period of time not talking about your goalkeeper too much, that's probably a good thing. But I just wanted to bring up another component in this Arsenal team that's so good, because this Arsenal team is so good, and we've seen that last night. It was proof how good this Arsenal team is, and it's just a nice little reminder, even to us, not even just rival fans and the media. I think it's just a nice reminder to us how good this Arsenal team is. And if we really click and we wait for fate to unfold with Liverpool, because look, my honest opinion is still that they won't win the league. That doesn't necessarily mean that we'll win the league, but I can't help but feel like I'm not fully convinced with them yet. And that's from watching a good few of their games where I just sit and think, I don't see them as winning the Premier League title this season. They could go and do it. I've been wrong a lot of the time. but I just don't watch them and think they're going to be lifting the trophy at the end of the season. So I do expect them to fall off at some point. So, have we been convinced so far after these 2 games, Forest and Sporting Lisbon, that this Arsenal team is back? I do think we're back. Whether or not we'll go and win the league, that's a completely different discussion. But I do think we're back in terms of the way we're meant to be playing, you know, the level we're at now, the intensity, the patterns, the fluidity, everything I've mentioned in this video. We do seem to be back to what we were last season, which is very encouraging. Now, it's down to getting the results and not going overboard and just taking each game as it comes like we were last season. Go and smoke West Ham away from home. Even go and get a nice 1-0 win away from home. Just keep the momentum going and then deal with Man United at home. That's where I'm at right now. Focus on the next 2 games and then we'll judge where we're at that point and just hope that something falls in place with where Liverpool are right now. Look, they have City coming up. Do I expect City to get anything out of that game? No. I think Liverpool will beat them, and that will essentially drop City even more because we've seen what happened with them against Feyenoord in the Champions League. Things aren't looking good at Manchester City right now. And look, I'm going to go back to it. We can't keep focusing on Liverpool. They're very far ahead right now. So it just needs to be fully focused on what Arsenal are doing and just getting 3 points, 3 points, 3 points, 3 points, and trying to progress in the other cups as well, in the Champions League like we're discussing right now. Because, look, Arsenal have never won the Champions League, but the format is very different now. Could Arsenal be the team to shock everybody and go and win the Champions League? Look, I don't think there's a standout favourite to win the Champions League right now. Normally it's Man City or Real Madrid, but none of them are quite at it like they usually are. Do not doubt Real Madrid though, because they never seem to be at it and they still manage to do a madness. Anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. Gyökeres, pocketed against William Saliba and Gabriel. Does not mean he's not good enough. It's 1 game. 0 goals. 0 completed dribbles, only 5 touches in our box. Just goes to show how dominant our defence were against Gyökeres, and that celebration from Gabriel as well was absolutely arrogance at the highest order. And I'm going to leave it at this. Make sure to like, subscribe, and we'll speak soon.